What's up, dumpers, and welcome back to the disc. This is new. Look at this. Hey!
Good to be back.
So if you're anything like me, you more than likely watched this year's 56th annual So Big football game thing for one reason and one reason only. You wanted to see 50 Cent hang from the ceiling.
It's 50.
This year's bowl, of the super variety, featured a lot of impressive ads for a wide range of products. You had Edgar Wright directing a Squarespace ad featuring Zendaya.
Shucks.
Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen ate potato chips while they bonded over fictional past memories.
Hey, do you remember when that stalker kidnapped us? Yes, Blaze was there.
And GM successfully weaponized your nostalgia for Austin Powers by kind of admitting that they contributed to climate change.
Oh! We'll reduce our carbon footprint. Whatever.
But the brand that took home the gold this year wasn't for chips or beer or any physical product like that. No, this year's winner of all things was cryptocurrency. If you've never heard of the company Coinbase before, that's not too surprising considering that their most recent ad placement during the big game was their biggest one yet. All you really need to know about them is that they claim to be the safest place to buy crypto, so do with that information what you will. The ad that they showed was actually fairly clever and was fairly effective in its intentions. By having the commercial so simple and clean during such a bombastic media event, definitely made people look up from their phones and actually acknowledge what was happening on their screens, myself included. And by having a QR code bounce around the screen like an old school DVD screensaver, there's that weaponizing nostalgia thing again, Coinbase successfully achieved their goals to the point that it even crashed their app on that day. But the fact that this ad was on screen for an entire minute and not just a 15 or 30-second ad placement, it made the part where the logo goes into the corner all the more satisfying for viewers. Considering that the average big game commercial costs roughly $6.5 million for placement alone, on top of the fact that they gave away $15 of Bitcoin to any new users, it's pretty telling that Coinbase has deeper pockets than one would expect. So why the bare bones approach then? If you could do bigger and better things, why wouldn't you? Especially if you're a new and lesser known brand. Well, according to Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, he wasn't too big on many of the ideas that were pitched to him during pitch meetings with ad agencies. In a recent 12-part Twitter thread, Armstrong goes on to describe the process of creating the ad and prepping it for the big day. So we went back and brainstormed, came up with a bunch of wild ideas. Since we were almost out of time, we decided to just make the whole ad a QR code. Team came up with the DVD screensaver theme. However, this may not be the whole truth behind the crypto commercial. You see, after the Twitter thread was published, Kristen Cavallo made her presence known. Cavallo, who is the CEO of Martin Agency, claims their group met with Coinbase twice about this ad spot, and as early as last August according to her public response. This becomes all the more confusing when just this last week, Kate Roche, who's the chief marketing officer of Coinbase, gave credit for the ad to Accenture Interactive, which is a completely different agency from Cavallo's. So for a CEO of an ad agency to call out another CEO client for their alleged unethical use of creative ideas, you would expect Martin Agency to be the underdogs of this story. Well, it's not that cut and dry either. Now, it's not uncommon to not receive credit during pitch meetings at an ad agency. More often than not, someone pitches words or phrases that can kind of get the ball rolling, and whichever one the team likes the best, they go with. That said, this discrepancy is a bit of a different case, considering that the Martin Agency has actually received Agency of the Year 2 years in a row from Adweek. And I mean, this is the same agency behind the Geico Gecko, so I bet they feel that they have a reputation to uphold, and justifiably so.
Do you want more funny videos? Just click that subscribe button and share too.
Speaking of which, I actually have a script already written about the insane advertising of car insurance companies, so if that's something that would interest you, you know what to do. But where does that leave Coinbase in all of this? Well, Kate Roche from earlier replied directly to Cavallo's initial tweet and said, "The Coinbase team and I deeply value our partners. The fit with our creative partner, Accenture Interactive AI, was seamless. So much to the extent that our CEO actually thought we were a single team when presenting work." Now, full transparency here, I don't currently work at an agency, and I can't just assume what happened behind closed doors in these meetings, but that excuse seems a little lackluster. That said, Armstrong himself did reply to his own Twitter thread in response to the controversy. Although we didn't work with a traditional ad agency, I'd be remiss not to mention the creative firm we worked with who actually created the ad, commissioned the song, and got the clearances, etc., etc. Honestly, felt like we were all one team, so I didn't fully realize it. So at the very least, Coinbase reps here are following the same narrative, even if it is a bit hollow and doesn't really give credit to a single agency. But this whole debate has actually brought back around an interesting conversation within the advertising world. Is credit needed or warranted for commercials and advertisements? After all, this isn't like an independent artist who's struggling to make their way through the world. This is a commercial. There's been financial incentive from the very beginning. Cavallo herself actually takes a stand on the matter with a comment she provided to Adweek just a few days ago. Too often the burden is on the agency's shoulders to be brave, flexible, ambitious. As an industry, we need to demand better. Clients think about advertising 10% of their day. We think about it 100%. We study what works and why. She even further illustrates her point with a tweet reply to the initial Adweek article. My tweet was not about IP. I wrote because his thread could easily have been a celebration of creativity and breakthrough thinking versus claiming credit and disregarding agencies. At the end of the day, I do feel Cavallo is in the right for speaking up about this issue, even if the agency never receives proper accreditation or compensation. The advertising industry as a whole gets muddier more and more as technology and media grows and becomes more saturated. And again, it's not as if this is Martin Agency's only client or highest paying client even. It's just about the principle of it all. It's all the more fitting that Martin Agency's slogan is "Let's fight invisibility together," as it can be applied in multiple ways here. Where does that leave future conflicts like this? Should all future commercials feature little fine print that gives every single person involved proper credit for exactly what they did? In my opinion, no. But after all, that's not Cavallo's point here. The entire point of this video and the discussion around it is simply to give credit where credit is due, even if that is for a cryptocurrency commercial. So what do you think? Is Martin Agency in the right here for sticking up for themselves, or is all of this just corporate fodder that shouldn't even be discussed in the first place? Either way, let me know down in the comments. Thank you for watching today's video. This is actually the first advertising content that I put out in like 8 months, so if you like the new vibe, subscribe. Major shout out to Johnny, Carrie, and Skylar for becoming the latest super duper dudes over on Patreon. If you too want to financially support the channel for as low as $1 a month, you can find that Patreon link down in the description or there you go. But as always, I've been Andy, you have been Dandy, and thank you for watching. If you vibe, subscribe.